Recording has started. Nice. I see it.
Okay. All right. Hello, and welcome to our presentation on our Social Justice Action Project, which is on environmental justice, presented by Kayla Warren, Jenna Marlowe, and Bader Saddam. So our topic is the oppressed group of poor and impoverished communities with the social injustice of environmental racism. Some examples of this have been laid out here. We have the EPA estimates that 1.5 million people of color live in areas that are vulnerable to contamination. And an example of this would be the Flint, Michigan water crisis that occurred in 2014 and is actually still going on today. And when looking at the demographics, you can clearly see with 53.4% of the being African American population, it's a high percentage of people of color who are in this area experiencing this. So for our project, we're going to be applying the 5 faces of oppression, including powerlessness, marginalization, exploitation, violence, and cultural imperialism. Starting off with powerlessness, there is a lack of financial means to move away from areas such as these, and they can actually be harmful to one's health living in these communities. The lack of decision-making and policy-making is also a big concern because these people have little to no voice in what's going on in their communities and being done by their elected officials. And they are also dominated by the wealthy. In this case, think of like capitalism. The marginalization of this population includes like inequality in education, physical health, and psychological health. This includes a multidimensional level of poverty and societal exclusion. Exploitation is done through work and services, with the federal minimum wage of being only $7.25 and no real change in that for the past like 10 years. This is stagnant wages, lack of work benefits, and no real opportunities to rise from poverty and climb the academic ladder of success. Blacks or African Americans and Hispanics or Latinos continue to be about twice as likely as whites and Asians to be among the working poor. They're exploited for environmental resources, and this also, again, just like mentioned on the other side, fuels capitalism, where people come into these communities and use them for what's around them and not giving any real concern for how it might impact their health. Violence is actually experienced through like high rates of crime and violence in low-income communities because crime fuels some people's need for additional income that they're not getting. Pollution and chemical warfare on the poor, predominantly African American communities in this case, is also a big concern because most places like this are toxic waste dumps because it goes back to the other slide where it said, there's lack of power and there's no say in what goes on. Cultural imperialism, people of color communities targeted as toxic waste dump sites, again mentioned on the earlier side. They lack the power or right to challenge the way things are. They're overpowered and taken advantage of by their superiors.
Okay, so these are some of the goals for this proposal that we have. So the first goal that we have would be to test the water lines for any level of contamination. And this would be done on a weekly basis just to keep a level of consistency and be able to check on it and be able to record it efficiently and do anything if necessary. The next goal would be to put more video surveillances in these low-income neighborhoods. This would promote less crime and just give an overall more safe feeling in the environment. Another goal would be to advocate for new jobs to clean the litter and the waste products that are contaminating, because this would benefit both sides, the environment as well as the people. So coming together, they would be able to solve that problem.
Assessing the action, some steps that we will take to achieve our goal. One of the ways that we can do this is by writing to our legislators. In order to make real and lasting change, laws have to be changed. And this can only be done by talking to our legislators and making our concerns seen at a larger level. We can also volunteer. Directly helping the people who are affected by this will help them in their current situation, but it'll also help us learn more about the issue and how we can help them in the future. We can also educate the public. This is also an important step because the more people who know about the issue, the better, because more people are needed to help with advocating for our target population. This is a big issue and we need all the help we can get.
All right, assessing project design. So how can we help in the issue of environmental racism? For one, we can work on raising awareness of this issue, and ways to do this include media advocacy, possibly going on social media. This includes Facebook, Instagram, whatever, pick your poison. Infographics and other educational materials. We can obviously, the main thing we can do is advocate, and advocating for this community and for social injustice is crucial to making any positive changes. We can also, again, volunteer, as mentioned on the previous slide, on the what we can do. This includes aiding our own communities, which is, a big issue, because if we can make an impact in our own communities, then we could move on to another, like the macro level. It's going to also include political action, voting, but getting people into office that are in concern of these issues, legislative letters, policy advocacy and lobbying, and social movements that we could actually join that are in promoting the environmental justice movement, who obviously see the issue and want to make a change.
Okay, so these are some of the factors that may hinder or support the proposal. Discussing the hindering factors first, since these are low-income societies, one of the factors that could hinder this situation would be insufficient funding. You need money to make projects go through. Another hindering factor is there could be a dysfunctional community. There needs to be some type of unity in the community for there to be some cooperation. There could also be crime and violence, which are slowing down the progress of a community. Some of the supporting factors would be some of the religious institutions, such as the churches, mosques, synagogues, that could maybe come together and come up with some ideas. And as mentioned in previous slides, social media is a big tool because it's accessible, and at the technology today is just moving at a quick pace, so we could advertise things quicker.
So some of the possible outcomes of this, some immediate outcomes, is the individuals and the families we help will know that there's someone out there who is fighting for them and advocating for them. And some of the long-term outcomes is more people will want to advocate for our cause, and we hope laws will be changed that will benefit our target population.
All right, so how will this project impact people of color living in impoverished communities and address environmental racism?
On a micro level, individuals would feel heard and cared about. They would also have an understanding that they have a voice despite what they have been told, and their health would also improve, because with the changes being made, their communities will get better and their health will be made more of a priority.
Some of the meso impacts or family impacts is that there could be less of a financial burden for a family to take maybe multiple family members to the hospital. The head of the households can rest assured that their family members are safe. There could be less issues with pregnancies because the contamination of the environment would be less. Another impact would be less events of domestic violence if there's a happier individual and then mixed with happy environment, it just leads to overall happiness in the household. And with all of this, if you combine it all, there will be better education and community resources for children once you clean up the nature and everything. And it's just a better look and a better, it's ensuring some bright futures for this, for these people of this community.
Looking at a macro perspective, our project will be able to help the oppressed group in ways such as by writing our legislative letters and persuading and gaining attention and support of legislative officials for our cause, advocating for changes to current policies, or maybe even creating new ones to help the issue of environmental racism in impoverished communities. Political action to, again, elect and campaign for those willing to support and address the social issue of environmental racism, and ensuring the equal access to resources, employment, services, and opportunities that this oppressed group require as in accordance to the National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics, because that's important to implement the Code of Ethics in the services to this community. All right, and then here are our references. And that will be all. Thank you for viewing and listening to our presentation. We appreciate and look forward to any feedback that you can give us. Thank you.